Now, many of you will have seen and admired Linda Buckland's striking drawings of the River Thames in London, which were featured in a recent edition of a leading monthly magazine. Linda joins me today to talk about her work. Linda, hello.
Hi.
Why the river? Where did it all start?
Well, I feel energised by drawing a living, breathing thing. And when I'm drawing down by the river, I much prefer it when there's something going on. A ship's docking or the cranes are moving. It's easier to feel involved, part of the action. My paintings are all about life and movement. As far as themes are concerned, I'm not interested in landscapes as such.
And they have a wide appeal, don't they? Because we can all place them. We know where we are with them.
Well, maybe that's because I'm actually quite resistant to the idea of moving into abstract art, because that's what everyone kind of expects you to do. And the resistance stems, I think, from where I did my training. I was at a college where there was a very strong emphasis on figure drawing and traditional drawing skills generally. It would be hard to shake that off, even if I wanted to.
So, do you actually do the drawings down by the waterfront?
Not much of the work is done in situ, actually. Just the preliminary sketches. Those then act as my source of inspiration. I take them home and work on them and play about with them until I get an idea of how a finished drawing might look. The drawings often take the form of composite images, actually.
So your workspace is pretty important to you?
It's funny you should mention that, because when I did those particular drawings, I was working in a rented studio in South London. It was a great space with a nice atmosphere. It was big enough to have 6 or 7 pieces of work on the go at the same time. But it was beginning to get me down because, although it wasn't that far away in terms of miles, it was a stressful journey to get over there. I often found that ideas that were fresh in my mind as I left the house in the morning were draining away by the time I'd fought my way through the traffic.
So where do you work now?
Well, as I say, I'd had it in mind for some time to find a workspace closer to home. And then one day, earlier this year, I noticed an easel in an upstairs window in one of the houses on the other side of the road where I live. I knew the girl across the road was an artist, but for some reason I thought she was a designer working in a potter's studio or something. I'd never met her to talk to, so it was a pleasant surprise to realise not only did I have a painter living nearby, but she also did her work there too.
A real coincidence.
Amazing! Seeing the easel standing there was one of those eureka moments, you know. I phoned her later on and said that I had a show coming up and could I rent a room on a short-term basis. As it turned out, she was happy for me to take over a room as a temporary studio.
So it's really worked out well for you.
I've only been in this studio for a couple of months, but it's already proved to be a revelation. And there's the obvious benefit of just having to cross the road to get there. And at first I was concerned about whether I'd be able to completely detach myself mentally from the normal day-to-day routine, which is vital. I know I'd be terribly distracted if I actually tried to work at home.
So, tell us about the exhibition.
Well, the work I'll be showing at the exhibition in September is all new work, a lot of it produced in my present studio. Working there has had a real impact on my work. I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that I can come in and work in short bursts. One of the effects of that has been that the work has been developing more quickly, and I think the images are sharper as a result. But it's not only that. The colours have changed, become softer, though I couldn't tell you why. Overall, I think the effect is a much stronger image.
And what does the future hold?
Although I've started to experiment with different surfaces and mediums.
Now play the recording again.